Good afternoon. Our platform continue working. Today we have our guest, State Advisor Mintimer Shaimiev, First President of Republic of Tatarstan. Good afternoon. Mintimer Shaimiev, why and how did you get the idea of polylingual school? Times are changing, and the system of education which you have in our country, it's always been of good quality, and in any historical circumstances in Russian Federation, and now if you look at the world and how it develops, especially in the area of education, and there are successes and in high technologies, there are different ways of getting education, remote education, different languages, and we have possibility to give education 3-4 language during 11 years. That's enough time. Well, plus preschool education. And if the concept is good enough based on the global experience, so it is quite achievable goal. So that is why Tatarstan, of course, with the help of Russian Federation, can afford it. Because our budget can afford it, and we are quite advanced republic in digitalization. We have investments, so we can afford it. And probably we even lagging behind. We could have started it earlier. Having started the experience, and I just went myself to Cambridge and Boston and in any other universities, and I saw what specialists we attract investments, and we are one of the biggest regions in the Russian Federation, and we produce several trillion of gross regional, and we understand how market economy works. We know how good economy works. We have to train and teach our children to be competitive. And there is one more side of the issue, that now we celebrate the 100 years of Tatarstan, and summing up, well, I have to say that 173 nationalities we have here in our republic, with different confessions, different religions among our people, and most of people who live here are Tatars and Russians. But we have Chuvashi, Mari, and we have a lot of investment in our economic zone, where a lot of different nationalities work as well. We have to answer the and give people what they need. We have to create conditions for people and to provide them with their national languages, and give a choice how to teach their children. So world is changing, and we just cannot live with your past, including your education. And we always speak about investments, about economy, but education, it is a human capital. Without education, that's difficult to imagine yourself, difficult to realize your value. It's difficult. Why? Because changing mentality and to solve problems of preserving your own culture and language, that's not easy. Well, I have to say, when beginning from the concept of when we learn world experience, and during 1.5 years, we already built 2 schools in Kazan and Yelabuga, and in the nearest 3 years and we have to open 6 big schools in big cities. They must start their work. Today, so that proves that we are on the right way, and we, in 165, we do have some experience of this kind of curriculum. Now we have not one school, we just have 3 polylingual schools, and we managed to provide them with all necessary material resources, new technologies. We have, it's very well organized with very good zoning, educational zone, recreation zone in schools. And we have we agreed it with the President Mintimer. We have kindergartens, preschool education. We'll also train teachers for kindergarten so that the children be prepared to work on polylingual school. And they will be trained to enter school. It is possible. I will give you just an example of. Have you ever thought? We have a lot of nationalities in our republic. In our cities, we have different people, different nationalities. And what I see, and I give this as an example, my observations, in the street, little kids swear, same language. Nobody taught them. They just run around and they use bad words. Sometimes the words which they choose. Nobody taught them. Well, it's probably not the best example, but this is just what happens in our life. We can do a lot through games in polylingual schools. And 165 school, which we today opened, and we renovated this school, and I talked to director. Director speaks, he's a Tatar, but he speaks 5 languages. And they, for several years, they teach children on these polylingual methods for many years. When we open this school, when I see the eyes of people, how people say thank you, that we started this very, very useful thing, that parents with the little kids who go to the school first time, and in this school we also have parents understand, they support enthusiastically, and these polylingual schools, they make people closer. We have democratic processes, times are changing, people changing, and people have to we have only one life, and we have to live this life to the fullest, and everybody wishes their children the best, and we want our children to be competitive. That's what people expect of their children, but for us very important. And during education, this is important, and we need to have understanding of parents of different nationalities. Yes, school is bilingual, but we don't have an unlimited range of choices. Well, Russian language as a state language, Tatar as a state language must be there. English, it's easy because it's like international and common for all people. You have to know English. You have to know English. And today I talked to 2 people. Our ideas are understood, and we have to find common language, and we have to understand. It's important for us. People have to be close to each other. We value our harmony, which we have here, understanding between different nationalities. That is why we having all these resources which we have, our intellectual capital, and for us, if we don't have understanding of different nationalities as a foundation, we cannot do a lot of things. I mean, we cannot move forward. When we lived in the Soviet Union, we wanted to build communism. We saw how Soviet Union collapsed. It was a big catastrophe, and we went through the war, and from all what we had, what happened in our lives, we just saw that when we took care of ideology and we tried to create atheistic society for about 70 years, we had 1,400 mosques, and there were only 23. And by the beginning of Perestroika, I was dreaming about when we think about spirituality of our people, when we'll pay attention to these values, not thinking about just everyday's needs, because it's very, very good when you have food on your table. Yes, we didn't have anything for many years, and when we had it, when we got it, and thinking about spirituality. Now think about Great Patriotic War and how many people we lost and how many people suffered. When Putin came to power, we thought, and I went to him and I talked to him, and we have to start spirituality, take care of it, and we succeeded. And you remember how we were supported by people. Kul Sharif Mosque, it was built on the charity money on our people, independently of people, or restoration of the Orthodox churches. That's what we do. All my life I was traveling in my work when I was just 30, and what I see when we restored the Orthodox Church in Kremlin territory, people have different faces, and sometimes I talk to people. They think about spiritual things, and people just miss these things so much. Just, let's call it just spiritual food. And we started doing this thing. Time flies very quickly. And by the millennium of Kazan, we restored so many places, so many things, and we see it and how people support and understood it, and why I say how people accepted these things in Kazan, in the rural areas. So we did a lot to restore things which we lost, and we have experience now. And when I talked to Putin and I started talking about it, he supported me completely. And the objects of the UNESCO World Heritage which we agreed to use budget of Russian Federation and Tatarstan with this help of charity investments. So during these years, these 3 objects of UNESCO were included into the UNESCO list of World Heritage. What?
I believe that this is a victory in this sense that this was only in the Republic of Tatarstan beginning year 2000s. It obviously gave certain significance to us, Kazan, Kremlin, Bulgar, and Siersk. Clearly, yes. That it did inspire us, and people started trusting us that we are on the right way. We have seen the correctness of our actions. And then the element of moving forward, we started working on the Islamic Academy because there was no Islamic Academy before in Russia. We did open that up, training high-level theology specialists. I'm very happy to see that people do accept this, they respect, thanks God that we do have housing. Just remembering the days post-World War II when issues with housing were there, and Nikita Khrushchev started working on that, standardized block housing. And here, obviously, right now, a different era, cultural things, educational things. If you are born and if you don't have the opportunity to get necessary educational competencies, then obviously you are less prepared for this world. Thus, I'm quite convinced that education is priorities of today and tomorrow. And same thing is true for the settlements all around the Republic of Tatarstan, not just Kazan, but all other towns and villages where we expect increase in the population based on jobs and what kindergartens and schools should be available there, and thus planning with the educational component, the staff that would be there. We are, of course, looking at the best possible experiences, not only Cambridge experience, but also Scandinavian countries' experiences. There are some cultural links. You know, Finno people are living in the Volga region. This requires funding. It requires intellectual work as well as staff training. That's exactly what I wanted to ask. Where and how will we be having the training of teachers for polylingual schools? We did start on this. Preparing qualified teachers is one of the priorities. We are very happy to see that our federal university, which is already in the rating of world universities, in recent years we started having up to tens of thousands of foreign students coming to our university to study. Thus we have identified the roadmap for this. There are some legislative acts in the Russian Federation also adopted, allowing us to invite older students and students in their later university years to start engaging in teaching activities. We met with the rector, we are discussing solutions, and I feel quite comfortable. Well, overall in Russia we are having very high literacy rate, but in Tatarstan we are having plenty of educational institutions as well as businesses coming to Tatarstan. Let's take a look at Alabuga Special Economic Zone. When people are bringing in their investment, they are bringing in their families as well, so they need to provide education opportunities, plus obviously remote education that is growing more and more popular, that will be available not only in the Republic of Tatarstan but internationally. We understand that there are challenges, but now that we have established the backbone, we'll start growing the muscles, the so-called body on top of this. Of course, attracting speakers. We have already managed to establish necessary conditions for even the teachers that we invite to come and teach various boarding schools, etc., etc. Once we started doing this, we are capable of calculating the needs, as well as we are lucky to have a very strong opportunities in the Republic. We started a program, we called it in Tatar Adımlar, which is steps, and so Tatar, Russian, English, we put that Adımlar slash steps, because that's a path. So steps, Adımlar steps, a path towards the knowledge and concord acceptance. It's important that we do have consensus, a community that is directed at bringing people together, bringing to unity, because we don't want any kind of discord, because we know that very well here in Tatarstan, and as you might, yes, I confirm, there are those challenges in many places around the world, and polylingual schools in the Republic of Tatarstan are contributing to bringing people together. We have plenty of mixed marriages, various ethnicities, various faiths, etc., that will help them to find their, family identity, comfortable one, not just choosing one or the other language as the predominant one or the other culture. In that sense, I believe this is a correct step moving forward. It's a step-by-step way forward, improving on the education of our society, contributing to many issues, including competitiveness of our children. We have to be competitive in the eyes of the world if we are attracting so much investment, working with so many companies from around the world. We shouldn't be just bringing in people as staff. We should be capable of supplying high quality trained people with wide outlooks. And well, Tatarstanians are very much persistent and aspiring to knowledge. Myself, being from the Muslim background, looking at the Quran, its language is calling to knowledge, that interiorizing knowledge is one of the ways of subduing yourself or serving the Creator. And in that sense, we see it in all the different cultures of ours that the language of knowledge is being soaked in, accepted totally in everybody. We understand there are challenges. Life was never without them. And just give you that example about UNESCO Heritage List, we did have certain doubts on that journey, but you know what, we managed to get that done. We set an example. Now we start work on polylingual education. Mintimer Shaimiev, if I understand correctly, polylingual schools is not only the educational project, but it's also about the ethics and the unity and paving the way going forward. Well, You have summarized it quite right, your own way, and I feel that that's already an achievement. It's very important that our respective ideas will be accepted by masses, by wide circles. When people like it, they are obviously accepting respective ideas. I believe that we need to grow the network of these polylingual schools. Obviously, that would require funding. You can do that, but we can't afford lagging behind. We understand that this is contributing to increasing competitiveness of local players, local companies, our people. Those things are interconnected. Take a look at Skolkovo schools of management, one of the leading institutions. And take a look at Innopolis in Tatarstan. We created that much later. But how does Innopolis work today? Everybody now obviously coming and seeing the level at which Tatarstan is developing new technologies, the understanding of the structure of the modern economy. Just take a look at their student and professors body. That is so diverse. Their young city is living. They have those driverless cars. They themselves are, let's call them driverless. That means they manage. We have that saying. We make things happen. Без buldrabus. Our people like to succeed. Let me recode one case. Once, people from other countries responded to that slogan saying that, did you copy that from the Americans? I remember, Hillary was the one who commented that when she came over. You might remember that we put down in the presidential palace, we put our snowy leopard from the symbol of. So did you copy it from Americans? I said, no, we are living under that slogan for quite a while. And he said, does that mean that Obama, Barack copied it from you? I said, no. I said, I don't know. I won't be able to comment. We have that for quite a while. Simple words. But those are statements that are giving confidence to people. People are not discussing who was the first one to say we can or we make things happen. That obviously shows potential, the opportunities. No doubt why Alexander Galevich, our president, was called on to serve the next term as a president. He stresses the issues of human factor and education. Yes, education is a very important factor to get that, the quality of life. Maybe a few other things that I wanted to comment. You mentioned about UNESCO, the heritage sites. We continue working with UNESCO. Having seen the experience that Tatarstan does, they have trusted abilities of our scientists. Well, UNESCO is a United Nations Education, Science, Culture organization. Their slogan, 4 main principles: to study, to know, to be able to learn, living and living together. Well, I can't add anything here or say it better. Learning to live together. A fantastically correct approach. Look, Russia is a multi-ethnic country, multinational one, and then the a previous edition of the Constitution, at least as I remember, Russia/Russian Federation, and those statements had equal weight. A statement by one of the ministers of education was stating that every culture has an instinct of sustenance, self-preservation. It is obviously resisting with the efforts of changing others. Once again, we are that explains why we obviously want to preserve our identity and accounting for the cultures, the languages, etc., preserving of DNA. Piotrovsky, the director of Hermitage, who says that the culture is the DNA of the nation. I'll just quote a few examples. We all respect and love academician Likhachov, who said your mother tongue is the soul, the spirit of nation. His words. If one of the Tatars had that idea, that would have one weight, but that was said by Likhachov. In this sense, I feel it's a must for me to state that the issue of the mother tongue, preservation of it, using it in education, etc. Many countries are having issues beginning of the school year. What language will be used as a medium of instruction? Those issues will keep coming back again and again. And to remember this, we must and we will be remembering about the importance of the mother tongue. Didn't Dmitry Likhachov say that mother tongue is the spirit of nation? So what else can be said? What other... Well, mother language is the spirit, the language is the culture is the DNA of the nation, and thus without both of them there is no way to preserve the nation. I would add in Tatar, language is the choice of mother. The language is the best present of any mom to her child. That's not yet translated, but I believe we will. How will they? That's your mother's, your mommy's tongue. The most valuable present that the child that can get from his or her mom. Right away. Well, once you have bread on your table, those things, those values, those questions are coming up to everybody's mind. Those are human values, universal values. It's quite possible we, the leadership of Tatarstan, are speaking a lot about this, and Tatarstanians might think that we are just overdoing it, but we can't forget about this. We can't be forcing people of different ethnicities to change their mother tongue. Every one of theirs should preserve their mother tongue, which is why we are living in the Federation. We need to be finding forms of coexistence. Well, we can't do that without education. That's why we need bilingual and polylingual schools and such education for children. How would anyone dare to say that that's wrong or doubt this? Yes, we need to make important steps of economic development. It's not simple to get all the necessary funds, but unless we have the concord, we can't keep the or develop the civilized nature of our society without that. without even saying that the causing revolutionary changes, forcing other people's views on us. We have had that experience, so we don't want to relive those. We do have a diversity of experiences, so I feel. Then after having lived 70 years in the framework of atheist society, that experience is also there. Nothing useful came out of that. And we don't need to repeat that. There is a way of self-realization, and I'm very happy to state that thanks to the will of God and the help of parents, the person was born, given life once, and the person shouldn't be suffering.
The life was given by parents, and his life must be supported by the people around him. And why do you attach kindergartens to this bilingual school? Why do you think that little children should learn languages as soon as possible? I feel a bit uncomfortable telling you this, but I just know it from myself. I was born in a Tatar family, in Tatar region. We had just only one family, Russian family, just after the war. It was a difficult time after war, and we had teacher, a Russian teacher. And he was a very good teacher. He knew several languages, and we were in the fifth class. I was just in fifth. You ask me now what he told us in fifth grade about verbs in German language, and I will tell you. This is what means the good knowledge got in young age, when your head works very well, and you can learn more. I go to Germany and I just talk to people. I'm just surprised. Some of them, they don't know this verbs, but he was a great teacher. He just couldn't let what he was telling to students wasted. He really taught, and I knew his life. I was there. Class organizer, and I just wrote some documents for him. If you teach a good way any child, just with a normal cognitive capacities, well, anybody can do that. And the earlier the better. Yes, the earlier the better. This teacher was exiled to our village, and we got him. His son, this teacher, lives in Israel. As soon as we got the information from this, and I wrote him a letter, and he was so happy to get this letter from me. And sometimes I say that if you don't know something, that means that you didn't visit these lessons at school. You can teach children so much when they're very young. In a year or two, we will show you education in a new methods. When we teach them languages, of course. It's just a program based on learning, interactive learning. I'm sure children will not want to come back home after school. They have wonderful conditions. They have swimming pool for different ages. They have just educational laboratories and educational spaces. They will not just sit for a long time like I'm sitting in front of you. They will be just very active. They can run, can sit, can stand up. The very comfortable conditions. catering now is called school restaurant. We had lunch there, a very nice lunch, very tasty. Yes, very, very, very good training, yes. Of course, first steps in this school probably will not be so easy, but it must not chill our enthusiasm. We have to move on, we have to move forward. And who do you think will be the school graduates, students who will finish this school? What kind of people will they be? And are you talking about educating new national intelligence? Yes, we all have to, all generation, young, medium and old generation, we have to learn. If your own culture, your own language is a DNA, it's the soul of your nation, it's not we, the government, and in our society, we must give it to people, to children. Time is flying, and they have to learn. This is our mistake if we don't explain, if we don't let children, give children opportunity to progress and study. This is our mission. We have to do it in all different ways, in curriculum, from schools, and from all possible ways. We have to live with these ideas, or live through these ideas, and we have to do everything to keep traditions, to keep culture, and to keep this harmony. So we try to live in a free world. When we become politicians or public figures, we have to understand how important it is. That's what we started our conversation, and when we think it's one of the forums, it's education, and the person studies for many years, and what do you put in their head? So this is a huge responsibility. And only in Tatar schools, in Russia, it's a very important question. Well, right now we don't understand it. Sometimes you're just distracted by some everyday things and don't think it's important. But our task is to use your responsibility, your experience, to overcome these things. All levels of the government must understand it on all levels. So you see what happens in some countries, what kind of ethnic problems they have. Its economy is important, but it's not all. Yeah, but you see, when you lose this consensus in society in terms of ethnic issues, that's a problem. But when well, you have to strengthen the foundation of nation, of country in different ways, including, well, children of these schools are children of future. So what do you think the future will be of Tatarstan? Tatarstan is one of the leading republics, one of the leading, most developed regions. Well, when we say we can, it is something which we have learned from our experience, and this gives us confidence in our future. We can. the educated young people which we have, which we train, they will be quite competitive children. They will they will not be afraid of anything. They will not be afraid of open world. Our children will work with children from other countries, well educated. Well, Chinese experience. In China sent a lot of students to the leading universities of the world. I talked to government officials of China People's Republic, and they said that our students bring back progress, methods of work, how to invite investments. I cannot say it's like a peaceful conquest, but China, that's what China does. China can learn from other nations. If it is very, very important issue which we're discussing now, and that President Mintimer works in this direction, and he understands how important these things, and it is recognized by everybody. And Putin had a conference with the regal governments, and he said that Tatarstan is quite advanced, and I can say that we can do more and we can become better. If we don't teach our children according to the best practices in the world, well, what can you expect from us? Well, we can lag behind. So these are the steps for the progress. We have to occupy our own good place in the world. We have to be trained, we have to be educated. And educated means well qualified and be able to speak global languages. Thank you very much. Our guest of our platform, 100% Tatarstan, was first President of the Republic of Tatarstan, State Advisor Mintimer Shaimiev. And we continue.